Good morning and welcome to Mic Check.
Two.
I'm Sean,
I'm Asha.
and it really is a two because we are missing Rachel.
We miss you.
We miss you, Rachel.
The Lover Girl is gone for one of the most loved episodes.
Right. No venting, no therapy sessions, nothing. Just me, Aja, and our special guest for today, Miss Mallory. Welcome back.
Hello.
Round of applause.
Thank you for having me.
Mallory, for those that don't know who you are, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and tell us a little more about you.
Sure. My name is Mallory Medellin. I am an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor, and I do counseling here at St. Hope.
All right. How long have you been with the company?
I've been here going on 4 years. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Going on
Time
4.
is flying.
It is.
It is. I'm excited to talk about this, though.
I know the girls are ready for this one. I was
Yes.
just scratching my head. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to roll with it. But since we're in February and it is the month of love, as a lot of people like to call it with Valentine's Day going around, our episode today is going to center around
Attachment styles.
Love it.
I love it, too. I love it, too, because I really felt like the older I got, my attachment style has really changed, and I'm happy about that.
Good.
I'm happy about that. So,
Now, wait. Now, when it says attachment styles, is this that thing that I see now where people are like, it's like the little letters? Is that it?
No,
The
that's-
compatibility or what's that?
The letters are the Myers-Briggs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that one, too. That one was spot on, too.
But this is similar. This is another one of those where you can like take a quiz and it will tell you what your attachment style is. Just like one of those tests would.
Oh.
So I'll give you all some resources at the end of this.
Yeah, I'm going to need to...
So, for Sean, can you tell us what the 4 attachment styles are?
Yeah. Also, for those who don't know what attachment styles are it's essentially the bond that we create. It's created through the bond that we have with the caregiver that we get in probably about the first 18 months of life. And then that basically builds the foundation for your relationship as an adult and how you interact with relationships and build relationships. So the 4 attachment styles that are created through that are anxious attachment, avoidant, disorganized, and also secure. So it's also good to note that we may not fit in just one category, but there may be like subcategories, and there's a spectrum of where you may fall on that. But in general, the anxious attachment is typically someone who is anxious in a relationship. They may present as like more clingy or demanding. They want to be as close as possible because they're afraid that that person's going to leave. So that's the anxious. The avoidant is just what it sounds like too. They're more avoidant towards people. Like they don't want the intimacy because that means like they could be hurt or they fear that. So that's typically the person that will like walk away in an argument or, they want to distance themselves from that intimacy and emotion. So that's avoidant. What's the other? Disorganized. Disorganized is a little confusing. That one's kind of in between. It's like, I want you close, but I'm going to push you away. It's like kind of back and forth. So that one's a little more complicated because that one typically will happen from trauma.
It seems like
As you just said that, but that will typically happen from trauma. If we've been hurt by like a caregiver or even like someone else in our life, we want them close, but at the same time, we fear them as well because we fear that intimacy. So, and then secure is secure. Someone who has a secure attachment will be able to express themselves to their partner, communicate. They're good being in a relationship, but they're also fine being alone. So you can kind of see the difference of what the attachment styles are there.
How'd you think it,
So
huh?
anybody kind of thinking what their attachment
My mix of like
style?
number 3 and number 4.
I'm secure now.
Now?
I'm secure now.
What were you before?
Avoidant.
Oh, that's so proud.
I'm not proud, but I recognized it early on. Like, ooh, it's getting real spicy. Let me just exit stage left. Yeah, that was me all the time.
So no talking about just, okay, I'm not feeling it, I'm out.
No. We could kind of talk about it, but then not really. We gonna gaze. We gonna just fly over it.
Oh, yeah, I'm more of a, I like you a little bit, then I don't like you then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to look this up later on.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
So wait. So why is it important when you're in a relationship or when you're trying to pursue a potential relationship? Why is it important to know your attachment style? Does that affect how you determine your possible partner?
Yeah, actually it can. Like some anxious and avoidant types will attract each other because so it's like one person is chasing but the other one's running away. So you often see that in a relationship dynamic because they have traits from the other person that the other person likes. So they're kind of attracted to that because they want to be able to like emotionally distance themselves, but they can't. So and as far as like the anxious person. So yeah, it's definitely good to know like who you are because the more that you know, the more power that you have essentially, right? Like knowledge is power. So the more you can like be the best person that you can be in a relationship essentially. Like we want to be the best partner, that we can. So by knowing your attachment style, you can understand yourself better and how you can navigate maybe if you're responding in negative ways to conflict or are you responding in good ways. So, that could be a benefit of knowing your attachment style in a relationship.
So wait, wouldn't it kind of be, because how I know people like to be, so you actually have people out there that like to be pursued. Then you have your pursuers. Isn't that kind of toxic though? In a sense, kind of, sort of.
It could be unhealthy.
If it gets excessive.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you just look at me and just what? I want to know.
Yeah, no. As a avoidant, spoken from a past avoidant, yeah.
A past avoidant?
Mm-hmm.
So you like to be chased. Well, you previously in your previous life like to be chased.
My previous life. Yes, I did.
Why?
We don't want to. This is not my therapy
Because
session. This is not my episode. This is not my episode.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about the attachment, or what we can learn, is that we all just want to be loved. We all want to be wanted. Mm-hmm. So essentially, that's what all of this is. Like we all want to be wanted, but sometimes we don't know how to communicate that.
Yeah. The reason I think a lot of my like avoidant attachment came along is just because I'm an only child, so communicating my feelings didn't always come like as naturally because I didn't have to communicate with a sibling or things like that. So when I started getting like in relationships, I used to be like, you want me to like, why are we yeah. And you know what, that is so weird because I would be like, I used to seriously ask people, why do you like me? Because I am not giving you much on up after the surface. I'm not giving you much. But I was dealing with anxious people, so that was enough. Mm-hmm.
So can people recognize the attachment style kind of the other person as you're getting to know them? You can kind of detect it in a sense.
I feel like you probably could. I think.
Could you?
Mm-hmm. If you know what attachment styles are, and after listening to this podcast, you're an expert, basically. I'm just kidding. But after you know what attachment styles are, you can kind of recognize in other people, like, okay, this is like I see that they're doing this, or when we start to engage in conflict, like they want to run away, or if I'm not responding fast enough, are they like constantly like blowing up my phone because I'm not responding quickly enough? Those are some things that you would probably notice, in a relationship.
So fast. Ooh, that would run.
See? What?
I take forever to respond to stuff.
Well, if you're with someone with secure, they would know, like, okay, even if you didn't respond, I have trust that our relationship is strong enough to withstand a couple minutes of not responding, Now,
if I see you post on social media and you respond on
let's
message.
Let's not. That's another day. We don't have enough time to get into that.
We can't dig in?
No,
Okay.
We're not diving into that today.
And now, I know I just said it that previously, she was at one point an avoidant. Mm-hmm. And now you're
I feel like I identify as secure.
You're secure now. Mm-hmm. So it is common for people to change their attachment style. So as you get older, you kind of realize what you like, what you don't like. And I
realized my ways and wanted to be a better version of myself.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You deserve happiness.
I deserve happiness. I don't be. We still
Hashtag
working
happiness.
on you.
This isn't my therapy episode. This is where Rachel should have been here because this would have been her moment.
This would have been Rachel's moment.
I was looking forward to her being here.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, I guess for me it was just so being an avoidant. I have a really my best friend, my childhood best friend. She was always so expressive about like how she felt like in relationships, her love towards me. She was just very open about it, and I used to just be like, "Girl, like."
TMI.
Not TMI, but I used to just be like, okay, I could communicate with her, but she was just so open and so freely with it that I always told her it was one thing that I admire about her. Like, she even got me to the point that, you know, I'm like a hugger now. I never was like a hugger, like physical touch. Like every time I call her, I could pick up the phone and call her right now and ask her one question. She'll be like, okay, and remember I love you. Like she's just so expressive. And I always admired her about that because I was never like that. And so one day we just had a conversation. I was like, you know, I'm going to actively work on it. Because it's really not fair to the other person for me to be as closed off when they didn't do anything to close me off. That's how I looked at it. So I started.
It's good self-awareness.
I started slowly incorporate. I really want to say like my friendships kind of helped me change my attachment style because I don't want to say I practiced on them, but I essentially practiced on them.
You have to.
So when I got into like a romantic relationship, you know, it wasn't just as odd as it was previously before. That's why I always tell people, you're getting a really good version of me. Let's appreciate her.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's possible that your attachment styles can change over time. Like, they can change for the better or for worse. Like, you can maybe start off with a more secure attachment style, but then you're in a relationship that's severely unhealthy, and then you end up with, you know, disorganized. So your attachment style can change over time, and also it can improve for the better as well. Like you mentioned, your friends they helped you with becoming more secure. And so another secure person with an anxious person, or a secure and avoidant and so on, can help you also to become secure by helping practice ways and communicating. And it's definitely possible to improve your attachment style. So that doesn't mean, just because you start out one way, it doesn't mean that you're stuck that way. I do believe that everybody can change.
Look like you're about to chime in.
I was just thinking things. You know, I remember when my wife and I were first together, she'd be like, some anxiousness, right? So she'd be like, "What are you thinking? What's wrong?" Like, you know, I'm really not thinking about anything.
Troy. Oh my God.
And so, you know, and finally we got language for that. I'm in my nothing box. Like I don't have to be, like, I'm not sitting here churning internally. I'm just relaxed and at ease. And it took her a long time to accept that. And then finally she's like, "What are you thinking about? Are you in your nothing box?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, cool."
I like that. Nothing box.
My nothing box. I was like that I was like your wife for a long time. I do that. I still do it every now and then. If I seem something's a little off, I'm like, "What's wrong? Are you sure? You sure there's nothing wrong? I mean, you can tell me.
Mm-hmm.
You sure there's nothing you want to talk about at this very moment?" I'm just here. I'm good. Thank you. I'm just asking. Jesus, I'm sorry.
And then they start getting angry.
They start getting angry. That's
Not
me.
the overthinker.
Yeah. I got it from my mom. Because my mom does it. She still does it to this day. Even when I'm on the phone, I'll call her out of the clear blue. Is something wrong? No, I was just calling to say hi. Are you okay? You sure? You don't need anything, do you? No, I'm good. Thanks, Mom. Bye.
I love you.
But no, I think it really does start with friendships, because friendships always guide you to lead. Because if you have the right friend circle, they can kind of guide you into becoming a better version of yourself. So I guess, like Asha said before, she used her friends to kind of navigate her way of changing her attachment style, in a sense. Mm-hmm. So I get that, because that's how I used to be. And so now I'm more laid back approach to a lot of stuff. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, just it's basically realizing like, okay, I am okay alone, but I also want relationships as well. So like being able to be okay. Also, sometimes people say like, oh, I haven't worked on myself enough, like I'm not ready to be in a relationship, and like sometimes that's true, but that's not 100% true. Like you don't have to be 100% secure in order to start getting into relationships. Like just as Troy mentioned, or you'd mentioned too, like you can start off an anxious and secure relationship and both end up secure. So yeah, just for some people to know as
So
well.
do you have patients that come in and ask about these type of things?
Not really. I mean, none specifically with the attachment styles, but relationship issues, definitely yes.
I know I've had a couple of people come in like, I need to talk to you about my partner
Yeah.
right now. I've heard the calls.
Yeah.
And they're pretty. I have patients will call and say, I'm having trouble with my partner. Is Mallory available? Because I need someone to talk to.
Oh my gosh.
So I've had it happen, so I understand.
Yeah.
Are there coping or is there like a way that you approach this kind of topic with people? Like let's say if they're having issues, like let's say if a partner is too clingy. Do you kind of try to dissect like what is their need to be clingy, or how can the other partner adjust so they don't get so agitated?
Yeah, I think that's a good reason why people, should and could come to therapy for is like if you're having relationship issues or you're not having trouble communicating with your partner, because we can help you be able to identify like, okay, what are some of those triggers that are causing you to feel anxious or to be more avoidant and, so on. So we can help you to recognize what those signs are. And then also if that's for yourself, really, the person themselves should also be looking at themselves, not and then the partner should be looking at themselves. But so yeah, building self-awareness for like what your triggers are so that you know how to manage them a little bit better. If you're complaining about your partner, you're saying like they always do this and you're saying like they're always texting me all the time, that's when you can talk with them about how to have a conversation with their partner about that or about conflict and kind of teach them how to communicate better.
Communication is always important.
This is your new life speaking.
Yeah, my new life. Yes. Yes.
Hashtag new life.
What as a when I was avoidant, I could always kind of like sense with the subject was getting a little bit too heavy for me, and I would just tune out. I'm like, no,
Hush.
no, what?
You're such a nicer person now.
I am. I tell people all the time they're getting a
Jesus.
great version of me, a great version. This is Aja 2.0.
So I gotta remember this. The avoidant one is the one I gotta avoid.
I would definitely say that. But hey, some people like that whole I'm gonna crack the code. Some people like to try to change people. I wouldn't advise it. But hey.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't advise trying to like change your partner or trying to like diagnose them or anything like that, but it's definitely a conversation you could say like, hey, when you do this, like it's really bothering me, or this is affecting our relationship, and if the partner's like not willing to work with you on it, that's okay. You can still work on your own and decide if you want to stay in the relationship or not. But if you are in the relationship, I think there are things that you could do to help your partner, like being patient, asking them how they feel, trying to, try to understand where they're coming from and like what is the anxiety about, and just listening to them and having them talk, about that.
Finding their love language.
Yeah. I always think too, like whenever I'm dating, I always like to knock some questions out and
Some
immediately.
preliminaries?
Yes. And I always like to ask people, if we're ever getting in an argument, are you the type of person that you need a break? Or so, because some people, I don't like to say things I don't mean. So I like to pause, but I had to communicate that to people, because people would be like, oh, she just doesn't care. But I just don't want to say anything that I want to take back, because to me, you can't take back the words that once I hear something, I'm not forgetting it. So I don't want to say something to somebody else that they won't forget. So I'm like, I need to take a little break. If things get too spicy, I need to take a pause and go the other way. But then some people don't like that. They feel like they want to hammer it out.
Oh, that's
then.
me. That's very me.
Oh yeah,
See?
I'm very
that's very much
upfront.
the push and pull.
Yeah.
I'm very.
and
No,
so-
we need to handle this right now.
And so
there's no coming
imagine
back.
an avoidant person and an anxious person in the heat of an argument trying to communicate something. And I used to just, and they're like, yeah, it's odd. It's odd. So sometimes, it's just certain things that I would like to ask in the beginning just so I can know. And because you don't want to just assume. And I think that's where a lot of problems come with assumptions. So just ask a few questions, I always tell people, just tell me, hey, I'm going to be busy. If you can. If you know your morning is going to be busy, just be like, hey, I'm going to be busy. Then okay.
Communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Yeah.
You give me this look. You give me this look like you.
I
feel
don't
like-
intentionally give you a look. You're very observant, so you just notice when something's going through my brain. Because
I know. I seen it in your box.
Yeah, no, I was thinking when Aja was talking, it reminds me of premarital counseling. So my wife and I we used to do premarital counseling with other couples where we would have a list of questions. Mm-hmm. When this happens, how do you respond?
Mm-hmm.
What if you come in and the toothpaste is squeezed wrong? How do you squeeze? Some people roll it, some people squeeze it in the middle, and that actually
Do you
causes arguments
Do you
in
put
couples.
your toilet paper on the front way or the back way?
Exactly.
The front.
And so, so anyway, when I was realizing, so on your own, you're having like pre-relationship counseling on your own. You have a list of questions.
Yeah,
and
because you kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And let's just figure that out now.
You should definitely be asking questions. Yeah.
Yeah, let's figure this out now because I don't want to. No, I don't. Figure it out now. Are we compatible now?
So what are your top 3 preliminary questions? If you had to pick 3.
I always ask people about their love language, of course, just because people have a love language and they feel like they need to like hyper focus on that. So for me, it can be, and I've seen that it cause issues. Quality time for people. And it's always weird because I always get people who that's their top love language, quality time, blah, 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 blah. But I tell people this all the time. I'm an only child, so I have to disconnect. I'm used to being on my own and, figuring out my feelings. I don't really like pushy people. I don't really like when people are like too intrusive when asking me questions. I kind of like to, give the information on my own. So love language I always ask about. I always ask how they are in the argument. Obviously, like, do you want to hammer it out and get it done? Some people believe like, don't go to sleep angry. Sometimes you really need to just kind of think it out. And then my third one it's kind of just more so like a pet peeve as far as like communication style.
Okay.
Like, are you a FaceTime or do you like to talk on the phone? Are you
a
an in-person?
texter?
Do you text? Are you able to really like communicate in the moment, or do you communicate like afterwards? Because that kind of helps you to understand where the person is going. Because somebody that might want to talk about something after the fact, in that moment you come across as dismissive or like you don't care, but that's really not the case for you. Sometimes your brain just has to process it all. But yeah, I hammer that out in the beginning. Let's talk about it now.
Sheesh,
After the
Raja.
favorite color, how are you when you're angry?
What's your favorite food? Okay, so how do you text me?
Because I feel like that's important because some people just. I'm not one of those people that you have to text all the time. Like, oh, text me. Yeah. We can just quickly pick up the phone, have a nice 5-minute conversation. How are you today? What's something nice that happened to you? What's something you wish you could have changed? Versus a bunch of like mindless texting. And I think that's when I really started to realize that I was and more so like in my secure phase, because I always want my partner to have a life outside of me. Like, I don't want to be the center of it. Like, yeah, we're cool together, but I don't ever want to be the center. That's too much
I
responsibility.
do the same thing. I'm a firm. I'll tell people up front. I'm a very firm believer in space. So for me, it's like I'll just say I'm an only child too. So I need my
That's
me
good.
time, and
Yeah.
I believe every person needs their me time. So we don't have to be up under each other for 24/7. Like, no, that's not.
That's why me and anxious people don't typically work.
Yeah,
It
I
is-
think that shows that both of you, that shows secure attachment behaviors, that you're able to communicate your needs and your wants to your partner or just to anybody. And yeah.
So like,
So that's good.
So like for me, it'll be like me and my ex would do. We'd have your together time, but at some point it's like, okay, I'm gonna go play PlayStation in this room. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna be in this room. Okay, cool, and perfectly content. One person be in one room, one be in another room doing their own thing. Boom, works perfectly.
Yeah.
Some people aren't ready for that, and they feel like there's something wrong. Not necessarily. It's just
Yeah, like I can be in silence. Like we can both be doing things that we love with like no talking. But that can make some people like really nervous or really anxious. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong?
I'm in my nothing box.
That's why I said I'm taking that. I'm really taking that. I'm carrying that with me to my next relationship. But yeah, it could cause issues because, you know, when you date an overthinker or an anxious attachment person, you kind of just, I'm like, nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong.
So that's when like an anxious person will need that reassurance.
Reassurance, yeah.
You know, and also compromise, because maybe your partner likes more quality time, but you want more alone time. So finding a compromise somewhere in the middle that where you both can be happy, because there might be where you guys have different love languages and different needs. So
Oh wait, now speaking of love languages, there's 5. So I know we touched on quality time, but we have physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gift giving.
yes.
Why are you chuckling at me?
This is always a funny topic for me.
So
What?
what's your
Y'all want to guess?
for Aja? I would say it would be more of a act of service.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
Gifts. I'll guess gifts.
It's both of those.
Okay.
It's so funny. Every time I take the little quiz, I take it every so often just to see if there was a change. Physical touch is always dead last on my thing. Like one time it was even a 0. I just never picked the thing, but I always, which people means, oh, I can't touch you. No, it's not that you can't touch me. I just think that everything else matters more in a relationship to me, because I feel like when you're in a relationship and you like people, you like the person that you're with, you're gonna naturally like touch them. Like if my partner was sitting right here, I'm not gonna think like, oh, I need to put my hand right here. I'm gonna naturally touch that person. So to me, I feel like it shouldn't be one, but other people need it more than somebody like me. So
Yeah, I was going to say the 5 love languages, it's actually considered like pseudoscience. So there's no like actual scientific basis that like these are the only ways that people can love or communicate. But I think it's a good opportunity for people to explore how they want to be loved, and also explore that maybe my partner doesn't want to be loved in the same way that I want to be loved. So maybe they may have different needs than I do. So it's a good tool, I think, for relationships to start a conversation on how you want to be loved.
I'm a very acts of service.
yeah, take a load
all
off
of
of
them.
me.
Yeah.
Me too. I really think I'm all of them, but I realized, I want to say maybe last year, I never thought that I was a receiving gifts type person until I realized my mom started that, because I can easily mention something in casual conversation and she's going to get it. Like I remember I told her earlier this year, I tried matcha for the first time.
Oh.
I did. I tried matcha for the first time. And I called, we're just talking. I'm like, yeah, I tried matcha. I like it. I think I'm going to be a matcha girly. You know, that lady really went out and bought me the matcha set and just was like, oh, here, I was at the store, so I got it for you. And then it really made me reflect. I was like, I like this. I really do.
I can't with you.
But it was really one of those things, like when I was looking at other relationships, that I want that. I kind of need that. Because
Miss Lisa, this is your fault.
It is. But, that's when I was like, okay, because I never thought of myself as a receiving gifts. I always thought I was words of affirmation and acts of service. But that receiving gifts, that's a hit. If my future husband is listening, that's a hit.
For the future husbands out there, remember to gift her.
And that doesn't mean maybe not for you. It doesn't always mean extravagant gifts when we talk about gifts. Like it could be.
Yeah, because people used to think I was shallow, and I'm like, no. You could just be like, oh, I was at the store and I saw Snickers and I know you like it.
Yeah, something like that.
I like that. Now
what would be making dinner? I guess making dinner, would that be acts of service or a gift?
I would consider that an act of service. That's more of a service type of
service. I mean, but if you get a chef to come in and make it,
I think it's
also
both.
be a gift.
It's both, depending on what you serve, right? Like
there we go. Now if we're getting steak and lobster,
that's a gift, right?
We don't always eat steak and lobster. We're eating ramen noodles Monday through Thursday.
Yeah. If let's say like gift is your number one, your partner would be like, I'm not going to give you gifts every time, but it can be little things too. You can get creative.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I like football. So something football related would be great. Like even if it's not like a game ticket or something. Oh, I just happened to be in a store. I saw a Colt shirt. Mm-hmm. Got it for you. Or you know what I mean? Or even food. Like food is my love language. I know there's 5. My sub love language is food. I know that we have these 5, but food is a love language to me. Feed me.
Feed you.
Feed me and make it be good. Look.
All right, so Mallory, tell me what's wrong with me. So I'm the anti-gift. I grew up really poor and didn't get gifts. And so I feel guilty when people give me something. I think about how much it cost immediately, and I'm like, why? No, I don't want this. Yeah, I don't say that, right? But internally I feel guilty, like, no, don't buy me an expensive dinner. Like that's not, I don't know. So anyway, something broken off inside of me. Huh?
That's a new one for me.
I think that, I found that common in men, because I dated somebody that was like that. Like I could just be like, oh, here, and he would be like, and then I remember we had to have a conversation. He was like, I don't want you to think I'm like not appreciative, but he said he had trouble accepting stuff, and I was just like, I don't know what to tell you, because you could just mention like you need some socks. And if I'm at Target, I'm going to get you some socks. So, that's the way I express. But that's why I always try to ask people too, because sometimes they don't really need that. But that's just how I communicate my love for people.
Yeah, and it depends. Like if you're okay with not giving gifts, communicating that to people that you don't want gifts. But if you did want gifts and you don't want to feel guilty, then you could, maybe look at your history and try to kind of figure out where that comes from and like why you're feeling guilty. But if you just don't like giving gifts, or if you don't want receiving gifts, you can also communicate that too, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, like at Christmas, I tell all the kids, don't give me anything.
My best friend is like that.
But they still get you something?
Sometimes, some of them will. And then I'm like, why are you?
Right. So they're not listening.
Well, especially if they get me something nice, then it really bothers me.
Oh, that's my mom. That's my mom. Yeah. Ever since I was little, like once I started like buying her, once I was out of that arts and crafts, I made you this type thing, and it actually started being like monetary gifts.
Like a nice bracelet or a charm or a necklace.
I kid you not. One time I bought my mama a gift. She took it back to the store. She was like, why did you do this?
Wow.
She was like, why did you do this?
And you got the money back and give it back to you.
She did. She just was like, never. Like it wasn't until like I became an actual adult and I really could like argue with her. I was like, girl, I'm grown now. You gonna take this gift. But before, no.
It all comes down to communication, I guess.
It's just
I think
weird,
it does come down to communication and also understanding yourself and why you do the things that you do. So if you're curious about understanding why do I do this or why do I do that, that's when, you can go to therapy and go through that history, and someone can help you like navigate like where does that come from, so they can be like, oh, okay, like that's why I do that. And then you can be like, okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore in the future, so I'm going to make decisions to actively work on that and practice, learning to accept, if someone else is showing. Actually, something else to consider is that when someone gives you a gift, it's by accepting it, it's a gift for them. So another perspective on that is like sometimes people want it's like a present when you say like, oh, like thank you, because they want to give for you. So it's another perspective on looking at that.
I use my mom example for that. Because I am kind of like I don't like a lot of things, like especially like Christmas and birthdays. Like, okay, you don't have to go all out. Relax.
Yeah.
Something small is cool. Thank you. My mom will go all out. It'll be baskets upon baskets. And I always argue with her every single Christmas. It's like, why do you keep doing this? And she broke down her story to me, and she was like, it makes me happy just to see you unwrap. That's how she gets her I don't want to say fulfillment, but I guess that's just how she.
That's how her way of expressing love is maybe gift giving.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, so you're basically just happy to see me unwrap something. Fine. It weirds me out still to this day, but yeah.
Yeah, but you do it because you care about her. So
it's like, okay, if this makes you happy, I'm gonna do it. I guess that's a form of compromise. Like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it just because.
It's a good example.
So.
Yeah.
That was my little example, my little tidbit.
Yeah. The mama's going to be like, oh, shout out to our mamas.
Hey, Mom.
They getting a lot of talk about on this episode.
Like, what's going on? Now, there's a lot of studies on love languages that state how we express our love and how we receive it, and sometimes it's not always synonymous. Can we speak on that a little bit? So like an example would be, I enjoy receiving acts of service, but prefer to express my love in quality time. How do you feel about that?
What was the study again?
I agree with that.
I was confused about what the question was.
So like, how do we express our love and how we receive it may not always be in alignment. It's not always synonymous. Right. So is that okay?
Yeah, of course. I think just like we were mentioning, like it's not everybody's going to have the same love language, and the purpose of the love languages are for you to explore that with somebody else and start that conversation of how do you want to be loved? Because this is how I want to be loved. Do you think you could do that for me, or practice that if you're not doing it already? So being able to communicate essentially what you want, and consider that somebody else might want different. Just like we mentioned, like someone, you may not like receiving gifts, but the other person likes to give gifts. So I'm not sure what the statistics are, like if you express your love language, if that's what yours are also, like the way that you show love to other people is how you want to be loved. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would think that would be similar. So yeah, it's definitely possible to have different languages and be in a relationship with someone with different love languages.
So a good practice I think a lot of people should do when they're exploring what they want in a relationship is to write things down. Like, I don't know, I hear it a lot, and I want to say it was Oprah said something before about when she's looking for a partner, she'll write down the qualities or characteristics you look for or seek in a person. And you bring that to them and just see, like, try to not necessarily check off, but do they hit your marks? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea
I don't want to set like a whole expectation. Like, I have to have, here's my list of 1 through 100. I need you to hit all. I need you to hit at least 99 minimum.
But I think it's also good to like categorize that too. Like for me, I've done that. So the first time I did it, I was just writing, and I was like, "Oh, girl, you want a lot." But then the second time I did it, I kind of put it on the what are the things that I need, and then versus the things that I want. Okay. And then that's the way I know, because certain things just don't work for me. We just not going to work if certain things just aren't happening. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe that should be number 2 on my list versus being number 57. You know?
57.
I think that that's good too, because also it also helps you to reflect on yourself, because that's what I did after I wrote my long list the first time. I was like, girl, be serious, be for real. And so then I went back to look at the list and kind of figure out why I wanted or why I needed that. And then I brought it back to myself, being, okay, if I want all these things, is this something that I can actually do? Like, am I asking for something that I won't even do?
Is it realistic?
Is it realistic? And so that's what also kind of helped me to be this person that I am now, and not be so selfishly asking the world from my partner that I was not willing to give.
Newfound Asha.
Yeah, therapy works, y'all.
Is there a way we can like edit and make like a little sunbeam over her head as she says this part?
Therapy and counseling works. I tell people that all the time. Don't avoid it. Don't avoid it, because I really do feel like a brand new person.
No, that's true, and I guess that comes with age. Because I know there were things that I only wanted in a relationship when I was in my 20s, opposed to now I'm going into my 40s. So it's like, this isn't necessary. Like, come on, be serious.
You're evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
You know, one thing that I've observed, I'm not in the market for a relationship, and I haven't been for a long time, but I think that it's easy to get focused on what you want or what you're looking for in another person, as opposed to being very clear about who you are and the type of person you are. Mm-hmm. And when you're very clear on the type of person you are, what happens is you attract people that are into the kind of person that you are. Mm-hmm. As opposed to you trying to find the person you're attracted to, like attract the person that likes who you are. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. Instead of worrying about if they like you, you should be worrying about if you like them.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm saying
If you like you.
Yeah, like you know who you are. Mm-hmm. And you're clear about, this is the kind of person I am. This is the way I have conversations. This is the way I have fights. This is what I do in this situation. And then people that are into that are going to be drawn to you.
Oh yeah, that's,
you know what I'm saying?
That's me currently. So like
so in other words, so you stop being the hunter and you start being the hunted. You start being the person that people are coming to because they want to know you. Mm-hmm.
We have a phrase. It's called you like to get chose or you're the chooser.
Get chose. Now did you not just say get chose? Did you just say get chose on this podcast?
Let's get chose.
I think for knowing who you are shows confidence, right? And then you can, people can see that confidence is visible. So yeah, you do attract people that are like, oh, like they're confident, like that's attractive, you know, or be like, oh, like I want that, you know. So yeah, I think definitely knowing who you are is a good place to be.
It is. That was really good, Troy. Because I mean, like for instance, I'll use myself as an example. A lot of people that I've tried to pursue don't like the fact that I DJ on the side, just because of all the negative things that come along with it. The late nights, you're always on a schedule, the attention you get from other people constantly. So when Troy said you should have someone look for you that already knows what you're about and they enjoy that already. So that's why I kind of just wash my hands of it, because it's a lot of people that don't like what I do on the side. So if you find someone that's like, hey, I like that you're a DJ, I like that you like music, I like music, that's my love language. We can sit in a room and be like, hey, have you heard this artist? Oh, you should play this at your next set. And it's like, oh, you know what? Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And then, boom.
Yeah. When you can also show your interest without it showing like, what's what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, sometimes people will pretend they like something to please the other person, right? So when you're not doing that, you're like, oh, well, this is what I like. You can actually be accepted like for who you are and feel loved for who you are, instead of this person maybe that you're pretending to be.
I feel it.
Proud of you.
I'm proud of you, Asha.
Good on being yourself.
Thank you, Mallory. Now, if you do have questions, or people want to find out their love language, they can easily go and probably try to find these tests like online. And
Yeah, for the 5 love languages, I don't know the exact website for that, but I'm sure you could just Google it, like 5 love languages quiz. To know what your attachment styles are, which I think everybody should do and try to understand what their attachment styles are, you can go to www.attachmentproject.com or look up the attachment project on Google, and attachment quiz should pop up and answer the questions to understand what you are. And there's a lot of good information on that website too.
And while you're at it too, they also, it wasn't recently added, but they did, there's a forgiveness style quiz. That's good. I think a lot of people should take that, because in any relationship, conflict is going to arise. And I think it's also important to know how people forgive, or what type of apologies people need. Cause that one really surprised me when I took it, when I got my results. But it surprised me, but I was like, that's right. That's spot on.
Oh, forgiveness
That's spot on.
quiz. Mallory, we have to look into this,
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
because that could be used in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, because in work, conflict is going to arise with people whenever. You know what I mean? Work, platonic, romantic, family. Yeah, so it makes sense that you want to be able to just move forward from the conflict. But when I took it, one of the things that stood out to me is when somebody is apologizing, for me to move on better, I need the person to take accountability for what they did. So if somebody is apologizing to me, I like when a person says, Aja, I'm sorry. Aja, I'm sorry I stepped on your foot. You're acknowledging what actually happened, and we're not just brushing by it. So that was one of the things that pointed out to me. I'm like, that's spot on.
Yeah, we're going to experience conflicts in our life no matter what, as you said. And actually, conflict is really healthy. It's a way for us to, because usually it's about those disagreements, and maybe we don't feel heard, right? Or we feel like they're not listening to us. And so when you resolve that conflict, it's okay. You separate because you're in conflict, but then you come back even closer, because if you resolve that conflict. If you don't resolve the conflict, then you get further apart. But through that communication, it can actually, make a relationship stronger through having conflict.
Yeah.
So conflict is healthy.
It is. So, I mean, it just ties back into, having good relationships. That's why I'm a better person, guys. I'm telling y'all.
This is another story for another episode.
Don't you feel like you know me better?
I do.
Troy, don't you feel like you know me better?
See, we had, I'm guessing it was kind of a good thing we didn't have Rachel's. We had the Aja confessionals, that I'm just kidding.
I did, because
but this
that's
was the
another
Aja
thing
confessional
too.
episode.
If somebody else is around, I kind of always take the back seat and I crack jokes. If y'all ever noticed that during episodes,
She's the colorful one.
Yeah, but Rachel isn't here, so I had to step up and actually talk about myself and my feelings.
No, you did good. And thank you, Mallory. Was there anything that you wanted to add that maybe our listeners and YouTube watchers may not have heard recently on this? Or
just want to say, take the attachment quiz if you can. If you feel like you are struggling in a relationship or struggling with communication, definitely reach out to St. Hope and schedule a counseling appointment, or go to counseling on your own if you like. But definitely, if you feel like there's something that you feel like you could do better on, therapy's a good way to go. So
10 out of 10 recommend.
So if you do want to schedule with Mallory or any of our licensed therapists on staff, you can always go to offeringhope.org and use our chat feature, or call in at 713-778-1300 to schedule an appointment.
And remember, at St. Hope, you're more than just a number.